Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Booth podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Elizabeth Rufai. She is a Bafta winning producer, and I'm so excited to have her on the show. Elizabeth, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's
Thank
been
you for coming on.
long overdue reunion.
Yes, it has been. It has been. See, many people don't know. Me and Elizabeth go way back. Way back. Okay. I first met Elizabeth in 2012. Okay. Very long time ago. We used to go to this film school, which was very community based, and you could make your films and stuff like that. And we just all did like our own projects and stuff like that. So I just think we've just kind of stayed in contact throughout that time, and obviously all these years later as well. And it's just great to see Elizabeth shining the way she is at the moment and continuously will be as well. So Elizabeth, tell us, how did you get started in this industry?
Where do I begin? So I guess I'll start from your teens, when you're kind of figuring out what you want to do. As a young person, I used to watch films a lot, watch TV a lot of TV, especially with my older sister. We would just be watching anything from like actual kids programs to Nickelodeon to watching Charmed on, I think it was on Living TV.
Yes.
And like everything on Trouble TV, like all of that, renting films from Blockbuster. That was like my childhood. And also I love to read. I used to write stories. Remember writing a ridiculous story with my best friend Kemi that merged the worlds of Catwoman and Zorro. Don't know how that happened, but that was like the stuff I used to get up to. Like we actually hand wrote a little book, which I've lost, sadly. That was my childhood, always thinking about stories, always exercising my imagination. And at the point where I got older and I was figuring out what I wanted to do, I actually was doing the thing you do as a kid, thinking about all of the things you like, all the things you're interested in. But my older sister went to uni and studied broadcast media. And at the time I lived in Nigeria for a little while, and she was of course over here. And so she was sending me a lot of the projects that she was doing and the things that she was shooting, and everything from music videos to short films to just any sort of content that she was making. And her interest in film kind of opened my eyes to the connection between literature and film. And I thought, that's just storytelling, even though it's obvious to say now, but that was when it occurred to me. And I just felt like I wanted to pursue it as well. So I came back to the UK in 2011 and studied creative media production. And that's how I met your cousin, Kiana.
Yes.
Who was, media at college stage, a lot of the time is full of kids who just think, I'm just going to go to media to have fun. I just get to mess about.
Camera, get a camera and like make music video with my boys. And it's like,
exactly, that was the vibe. But then when I met Kiana, it was like she was really interested in creating, and that's how I ended up meeting you through the film school that we went to. Because I think one day she was just like, oh yeah, my cousin said we should come to this film school thing. It was all the way in what was it again?
Elephant Castle, the trenches.
Yeah.
What was it? Aylesbury Estate. If you know, you know.
Aylesbury Estate.
The ghetto. Sorry, Kafa.
Is it still standing?
Woo.
So it was all the way there. So we would come after college. Was it every Wednesday?
No, Tuesday. Evenings. Like, it was like 6 till 9, but nobody got there at 6.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
We would make it a little road trip. You know, when you're a teenager, you just like, you want to jump on a bus, you want to go anywhere. Yeah. So it was nice to leave Croydon and head up to Elephant and Castle on a date. So we would come and just learn and work together, put our heads together. Shout out Nosa and Shola for the guidance. They were our teachers.
Yes.
and great
And that's
teacher.
Shola Amu, by the way, the director of The Last Tree and A Moving Image. So as
Yes.
you can see, we were guided by some great people.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Shola might have been coming off of
Yeah,
out of
NFTS as well.
NFTS at the
Yeah.
time. Yeah. And so yeah, they would teach us about storytelling, um, and we would literally do everything from shoot to edit. And that alongside of college. It was just a great stepping stone, a great foundation, because it meant that at the time I knew that I was thinking about being a producer, and that was purely on the basis of my sister. I assumed that she wanted to be a director. So I was like, I know I'm already jumping on her wave. So I'm going to look at what else I can do
Mm,
that suits me. And producing came up and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I didn't actually know what it was. But going to the film school, going to Inspire, it is what it was called, that gave us the opportunity to try different things. Between that and my creative media production course, we were shooting, we were recording sound, we were jumping on Premiere Pro.
yeah. We were shooting on tape, guys. Okay. They had us in the trenches. Okay.
It's happening. You got to do what you can with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
resources you can
Uh-huh.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going out onto the streets and filming what we could, and working with aspiring actors as well, just to tell stories
Yeah.
and building the muscle that way. So yeah, that was amazing. And then during that time, I was at the college. It was Colston College in Colston, Croydon. And shout out to Morvalisa Roberts, who was one of my tutors there. Amazing, amazing tutor. But I did move from there to City of Westminster. Both I and Kiana, actually. It was just a bit more advanced in terms of, it was a vocational college. So it felt a bit grown up. It felt like there were a few more resources as well. And there I met Barrington Robinson, who was my tutor, and really encouraged me when he heard that I wanted to be a producer. He said, okay, if you want to be a producer, you need to do this, this, and this. Oh, you said you like that book. Have you found out if the rights are available? Things like that. Just kind of having my brain ticking on what a producer does outside of just putting things together, being a creative producer, essentially. And being an originator as opposed to just an organizer. And so that was really valuable. We did things like I produced the student awards, for example, which was a great experience. It felt a little bit professional. We were shooting multicam. And then just in between all of that, I was shooting stuff. So got a camera, I knew guys who were into music, things like that. So I was always shooting the gigs, photography, stuff like that. We were working together on your shorts that you were writing and directing. Yeah, it was just building the muscle, really. And at the point where you're meant to leave college and go to uni, I was quite sure that I wanted to be a producer because, like I said before, I got to try everything. And through that process, I realized what I enjoyed doing was bringing people together. And just simply that, bringing people together and being able to be part of the entire process from conception to completion. So I was quite sure that that was what I wanted to do, and that was what I was good at. I didn't feel like I was a writer, didn't have the patience for editing. I just it was quite clear cut what I was meant to do. So at the point where I was supposed to apply to uni, I applied for the sake of it, and not just for the sake of it. It felt like an appropriate next step. However, seeing all of the courses that were available at BA level, they tended to be broad, which they're supposed to be. But I felt like I had gone to quite an advanced college where we'd learn a lot of things that I might be learning again at uni. And so I decided that I was going to apply for uni and at the same time try and get a job in the industry, to just go straight in and do the work. And if I didn't get a job, then I would go to uni if I got in.
Okay.
Have to get in first.
Yeah.
So I got a place at Ravensbourne. I was actually offered a place at Ravensbourne and UCA. but I chose Ravensbourne. But I then, at the same time, so this is very long-winded, but a lot happened. But at the same time, while at college, I joined a run club called Rundem Crew, and I was running with them in West London, Paddington, but they decided to run a young people's program at my college, and I really wanted to get into running fitness at the time, and so I joined, and through that I met the head of publicity at Lionsgate Films, and through talking to her, she learned that I was interested in film, and then she said, why not come and do some work experience? So that all materialized while I was deciding about uni and everything. And so I decided to defer my place. And if I was to get a full-time job, I just wouldn't go to uni. And that's what ended up happening. I spent a month doing work experience at Lionsgate in their offices. And after that, a runner happened to be promoted to another department. So then they offered me the runner role. And then I did that for about 6 months until another opening came up in the marketing department. So I became a marketing assistant. And yeah, I was there for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, I think. And that was just incredibly valuable for me, understanding what happens to a film towards the end of its journey, or towards the end of the making of it, especially as a producer. I couldn't have started anywhere better, I think. And that kind of led, I think, started the pace for my intentions moving forward from that, because it meant that I was thinking, this environment has been really valuable for my knowledge as a growing emerging producer. What are the other environments that I can go to, aside from just being a runner on the floor? And so I started to seek out in-house roles. Actually, when I left Lionsgate, I was hoping to get on the floor and get some more actual production experience, but that was just really, really difficult and didn't really materialize. So I ended up in the commercial space, and that's where I was working in-house full-time and also eventually freelance. And then what happened? Yeah, I was just working, making shorts with people, trying to connect with people. And then when COVID happened, at that point, I was trying to move into development and evolve my skills in that sense. But then no one could hire me. All of the interviews I'd done were pointless. So at that time, I had thought about NFTS. It's just because it was COVID, really. Because over the years, I was like, I'd known about NFTS, especially when I decided not to go to uni. But I was never going to be eligible because I was fresh out of college. I was young, inexperienced. And also, number one thing is that I couldn't afford it. I was just like, I'm never gonna afford this. So it just wasn't in the forefront of my mind. But then when COVID hit, I saw that Bafta do a scholarship. And so that prompted me and gave me a bit of confidence. And I said, okay, let me see if I could get a scholarship to go to film school, and maybe everything that I'm trying to learn by working in-house in the UK production companies, I could gain quite a bit from going to film school, learning about how the business actually works. And so I applied and ended up not getting the BAFTA scholarship at all, but then got onto the course and learned that I'd gotten even better, and that was a full scholarship from BBC. And so that's how I ended up at NFTS. Yeah, I didn't actually answer your question because you said, how did I enter the industry?
But you told the whole story, and I love it.
I guess I'm taking you.
But the great thing is that it's great to hear your journey, and people listening are going to be like, oh, okay, wow. Like, and it's funny to like listen to you because like, I've watched your whole career. So like everything you're saying, I'm like, I remember this, I remember this, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember when we used to bump into each other at the train station all the time. You were coming from Lionsgate, I was coming from this horrible ITV show I was working on at the time. And and we would be bitching about work. Like, so it's great to just hear the journey again. Yeah. And you did answer it because that's how you got started. You studied it, you started your passion and love for it, and you just kind of developed like that. And you got to the point where you kind of are now. So I was like, pause. And what I love about you not going to uni. And I think that's what I've always like admired about you, is that like you didn't go to uni, but you worked
Yeah.
within the industry. And that's the catch 22. You know, I think going to uni after college is a safe plan. And what I mean by that is that like you're able to just go to uni because, you know, you're still kind of figuring out how to get into the industry. Because let's say you did Lionsgate job, that work experience, yeah. And you, okay, no job materialized from that. So what are you going to do? Okay, you could have to get some sort of job. If you weren't going to uni, then you'd end up in some next job and then you're trying to make it. So that's why uni is a good like seat filler, you know, until you get to where you want to be. But you were able to have the opportunity to kind of just go straight into it. And that's what's great. And I think that's the best way to do it. You learn by doing, you learn by working, because you go to uni, please, wait, I'm sure you remember all what I used to
Oh yeah,
say.
I remember you and Carter just
Listen,
constant rants and
because it was a waste, and I think that probably deterred you guys, you and Kian, anyway, from going. And I'm kind of happy because I tell everybody all these masterclasses that I do, they're like, "What about you?" And I said, "Don't go, don't go. It's a waste. It's a waste. Go to a film school, you know, because it's like you're not. Uni is more like if you want to be a lecturer. If you just want to go to uni and study film and just have fun, yeah, knock yourself out. Waste, get in debt for nothing, you know. But like, if you want to like get in the industry, just work, man. Just work. Like, I know it's easier said than
I
done.
feel like I do. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, and you actually don't know what would have happened. But I always look at the experience of some people who have gone to uni, and something that I feel that I did miss out on in those early steps of my journey was finding the community. Because you look at like, so my sister went to Brunel, and if you know, most of the people
Brunel is
doing it
different
right now,
kettle of fish though. Like, honestly, I know what you're saying. Different kettle of fish. Brunel, listen.
it's
Yeah.
But there was that community. It's like that generation of people of talent. They just, it was just like, because they were all in community with each other, and I think that does something if you're in the right environment for that growth, and also just the safety of being in that environment. The stepping stones are a lot more steady than just being thrown out into the world.
No, I completely understand.
I see where uni could have been valuable, but like everyone says, there's not one way to go into the industry. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like it is different for other people. Like, you know, some people get that clique of people and network, and then they're able to like grow with each other post uni, and that's amazing. And then you have people like me who had nutcases, the people who I was with, and only one other person from that circle of friends is in the industry like I am. So, you know, so it kind of just depends really. And I think it's, you know, like when you're talking about talks and, you know, everyone shares their way of getting into the industry, it's like, it really, like you said, it doesn't, there's no like, okay, textbook way to get to where you want to be. You kind of just have to go full force at it and just see like where it takes you as well. And, you know, you ended up going to NFTS, you know, it's a 2-year course, you know, and tell me about the producing program, you know, how full on, because I know from what I've heard is like everyone who I know who goes NFTS or are currently there, they're like, it's no joke. Yeah, you can't work, you can't do nothing. It's very much like bam, bam, bam. So like, what was it? Was it like boot camp? You know, like, did they whip you into shape? Like, tell me.
Yeah, no, it was like, I'm so grateful for the experience and so glad I went. I do think, like, I will answer the question, but just to say again, the not going to uni thing, I think I could feel that. I can feel like going from like my last experience with education was college. Going from that to a master's felt like a jump for me personally, because I guess I hadn't been working the academic muscle as such in that way. So yes, it was a big change for me, but I think I felt like I threw myself into it and really embraced it. I was so excited to be going and just to be in an environment where it's just like everyone is about it. Everyone is serious about what they're doing, and because it's a master's, it's mature students, so you know, you're not going to, obviously there's always the odd character, but you're not going to start a BA where there's an 18-year-old mucking about in the lectures kind of thing. So I loved it for that. And I also lived in Beaconsfield for the 2 years. So I was within proximity to the school. So it was really an intense experience for me. I was really within that bubble. And yeah, they really do mean it when they say it is your life. The 2 years, my advice to anyone who isn't, I'd say, from a wealthy background is have your savings.
Oi, okay, okay.
Because trying to say you want to work in between and all of that, I know people who did it and they're incredible. Definitely put me to shame because of my work ethic, but it's just really that intense that obviously.
Is it full time though, like Monday to Friday kind of thing? Okay.
It's very much full time. Yeah, there was pretty much something for every day. Even when you're independently working, it's full time in the sense that you are working on a project or having to have some sort of meeting or
right.
Something like that. But it was amazing. My cohort of producers are incredible, genuinely family. We were 2021 intake, so COVID started on Zoom. Our selection workshop was on Zoom. And that was like the hottest summer.
Oh yeah.
In our bedrooms in the heat.
Ooh.
Doing a selection workshop, going 20 people, they choose 10. We were the first year of 10 people. It had been 8 before us. And yeah, so I think that experience bonded my cohort a lot more. So yeah, we were very much so supportive of each other. I don't know how I would have gone through that course without the other producers, but the producing course in particular, just brilliant. It's just everything that you would be looking for.
Okay.
From learning about being a producer, because there's something for everyone to take away from the people who are going in not 100% sure that they want to be producers to the people who went in there fully clear about that, and even people who you might go into the course and understand the different ways that your career might pan out, and that might be that you actually want to go into sales or distribution, or you are purely a development producer, I think the course allowed people to kind of see the full spectrum of the role. And Chris Orty, who was running the course at the time, he's now I believe director at LFS, went to the dark side. But the NFTS course, obviously he didn't start it, but at the point where he took over that course, he really, it was his baby. He really wanted to make sure that it was thorough and not just us people going there to make films. It was about actually understanding what the UK and global business is like and how they intersect, and just what it means to be an independent producer in this landscape. It was just very, very, very valuable in that sense.
So did you get thrown into like producing projects, or was it a lot of like lectures and like or guest speakers and stuff like that? How was that?
It's a whole mix.
Okay.
And that's what I love about being at the school, was the proximity to the industry, because you find that, like, I've heard from a lot of people who have gone to uni, for example, they might be speaking to a bunch of people who were like, who had a bit of a career or didn't really have one.
I had that one time. Yeah. So yeah.
Not to shade them, it's genuinely a hard industry, but I just mean that in the sense that at NFTS we're meeting people who are actually working, who are moving, who are the movers and shakers, and like there was that proximity and understanding of what they do, and that breaks down like the barrier that you have in your mind of they're over there and I'm over here. So you're really, really understanding how just how they fit into the framework of the industry. So there was a lot of talks, like our actual sessions had a lot of people from the industry to do with different subject matters just across the whole production process. So from development to distribution, finance, sales, everything. So there was that. There was also actually making the films. So at the school, because each master's course is specialized, so you have directing, screenwriting, cinematography, all the HODs essentially.
Yeah, production management, gaffer,
Yeah.
like I know it's very specific, which is great.
Yeah.
That's what you want
Yeah,
for film school.
exactly. So from that, you're able to create teams to make films. So you are making at the school, you're making a first year film, which you're paired up randomly.
Okay.
Not entirely randomly. There's like workshops that we do and like a whole week of getting to know each other and all of that,
Okay.
and understanding what everyone wants to make. And then, you make that film. And then there is another film in between the course that is primarily for directors to do. And the producers are a lot more kind of execs on that film. And then in the final year, you have your graduation film. So the producers make at least 3 films. You also have the option to, it's about capacity really. So you have the option to make a documentary.
Okay.
If you want to and can. And you're also actually, your graduation films, you're making 2 graduation films because you're making an animation as well. So I had 2 graduation films. So yeah, it was a mixture of creating and just learning about the industry, learning about the business. A lot of doing, a lot of research projects. Yeah, it's very, very well-rounded, I would say.
Okay, nice. So one of the 2 graduation films that you made, because I know you did the animation film, but then there's this little film called Jellyfish and Lobster, that burst onto the, film festival scene. Because I remember there was so much buzz about it. Like I was having like meetings with like distribution companies or loads of different people. And I was like, yeah, I know Elizabeth. I know Jellyfish and Lobster. Like, and I wanted to see it so bad because it was gaining so much buzz. And then this little hold film, just went and won a Bafta, which is incredible. You have no idea yet. When the long list came out, I was screaming. I was like, yes, oh my God. And then, when the short list came out, I was saving. And then, like, obviously the BAFTAs aren't live, innit?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of like, it's on delay a little bit. So I was just refreshing all the time. You have no idea. I was refreshing on Twitter, like, come on. And then when it did, I ran to my mom. I was like, Mama, look, she won. And she was like, oh my gosh. So listen, I was so proud. Honestly, I'm so proud. You have no idea. And tell me, Jellyfish and Lobster is such a powerful, story. So tell me about like the story of it and like how did it feel to kind of tell me the whole process, finding out you were nominated to then winning. Because I remember I saw the video. I could see you were shaking when you were upstairs. You were nervous as hell. I remember you were like, "Oh my gosh."
Listen, my only priority on that day when they called out Jellyfish and Lobster was do not trip.
Okay. Listen,
get from your seat to the stage without tripping. Read your speech, get off without tripping. That was was all I could. That was it was surreal. It was really surreal. The whole process, as in making the film, to
like what was the whole process like? Because it's such a powerful story, and I know you guys are developing it into a feature film as well, so we can get into that later, especially with your production company Carbon Pictures. Like, tell me, like, what kind of attracted you to that story, and then the process.
So I said earlier that at the film school you make a first year film. So for my first year film, I was paired up with Yasmin Afifi, who's the director of Jellyfish and Lobster. And funny thing about Yasmin was that we had been following each other for years on Instagram and just actually never interacted.
I know that.
Never interacted.
Several people same,
Yeah. And it was bizarre because I don't know. I don't even know how. I think there might have been a mutual or something. But never interacted. But when we started NFTS, I just happened to see her Instagram story with a picture of the logo NFTS saying first day. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so random. We've never actually spoken, but I'm starting NFTS too. And so that's how we met.
Okay.
And then the early process of pairing up for first year film, there were just a few talks, workshops and things that they do in groups. So I still hadn't really interacted with her in any of those. But then we found out that we were paired up for the first year film,
Yeah.
which we made called Sirius. And that was written by Alexander Siklak. I'm not sure I said that right, but amazing writer who was on a screenwriting course. And so that was our first time working together. And through that process was when we really just, we really got to know each other. We really built trust. Like, it felt like we'd known each other for a long time. It was like we had our first bus stops, like,
Mm.
the early arguments that you have
Yeah.
in the process of making a film. And that was so valuable to us building trust with each other and building a strong working relationship, because through that is when you see, like, when you argue with someone is when you see the way they reason, the way they're able to resolve things. And I realized I was able to just be open and honest, and she felt the same, and she was receptive to. She's just very solution driven in her thinking, and human, very human in the way that she treats people and wants people to feel when she's working with them. So it just felt like, wow, you're an anomaly of a human being, and I just really valued that experience. And so we vibed on our first year film, and then in that process she had started to tell me little bits about Jellyfish and Lobster, and she hadn't written it fully, but she'd written down thoughts and things, because at the time, at the point of starting the school, she had recently, a few years prior, lost her dad to cancer. And at the point of starting the course, her aunt was diagnosed with cancer as well, and sadly passed away very quickly. So what was going through Yasmin's mind at that moment was who they were at the point of passing away, and reckoning with their illness and the environment that they were in. And that led to the world of Jellyfish and Lobster, which came from seeing her aunt and her dad in the cancer wards and the spaces that they were sharing with other patients who just didn't make themselves victims. They just they just used humor to get through what they were going through. And it felt like there was no limits to what that humor was. And she really wanted to channel that into a story. And so when she told me about these early rumblings of an idea, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. I'm working on it, which isn't a given, because when the school asks us to pair for the graduation film, they're like, you lot go and decide for yourselves. Go fight amongst it to decide what you lot want to do.
Yeah.
But at that time, I think we had a quiet understanding that we were going to work together, but to respect the process, which was a process that we decided as a cohort, which was just to have like a little sort of speed dating thing with the directors to just speak to everyone. Yeah, it's fair to hear everyone out and actually understand what stories everyone wants to tell, and if you might fit in that. And after going through the process, just felt right to work with Yasmin. And we had a challenging time making the film. It was very challenging. We shot on 30mm, and so that was that was a first for me. I mean, a first on 35, because we shot our first year films on 16. So that was an amazing experience. But I'd skipped over the development part, which was an amazing experience, seeing how the story unfolded. And these characters, so our main character, Grace, and then the supporting character, Mido, were just these insane people who, every time Yasmin would send me the script, I would just be like, what am I reading? And at the school, to paint a picture, each course has their own base. So there's a producer's base. And at the time, in the producer's base, there was no door. It was like an open entry that led into the common corridor area. And Yasmin used to sit in that area, and she would send me the script, and she would hear me laughing out loud, like head back, open mouth laughing from the corridor, and just like, Yasmin, what the heck? Because it was just like nothing I'd ever read before. It was just so audacious and so bold. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about when I say, like, I don't want safe.
Yeah.
because there's every opportunity in a story like that to just be safe and want to try and tug on heartstrings. And that wasn't the aim. It was these two very unapologetic characters who kind of had nothing to lose. And this was how they portrayed it. This is how they were able to demonstrate it. And I just loved it. I loved everything about it. So yeah, we made the film. It happened. At some point, we almost didn't have a film because we had an issue with the film, the 35 itself, but we were able to do some pickups.
Okay, good.
A lot was lost, I would say. But what I found really valuable about that experience is that we were able to, even with what was lost, we were able to still just bring forth the essence of the film, and the message still came through. So I was really, that's one thing I'm really, really proud of. Because it was just that reminder of the thing that we say all the time, which is like, there's a film that you have in your head, there's a film that you write down on the script. There's a film you shoot, and then the film you edit.
If you know, you know.
Entirely different films along the way, and that was testament to that, because when you go through something like that and you're like, oh, is this film even good anymore? Like, when you've racked your brain, you're like rewriting it multiple times and trying to make sure that the essence still remains. You start to lose that feeling that you had at the beginning of, and you're like, is this anyone even gonna get it?
Yeah, you're looking at it like, okay, well, I'm happy I got paid for this. Am I promoting this? No. You know, like...
So yeah, very, very much proud of that, and that we were able to persevere and to tell a story with her, and that was also a reminder that when it's on the page, it would definitely come through. If it's not on the page, it's not going to be on screen. And that was very much testament to that. So yeah, I'm proud of that. We made the film, finished the film, started film festivals, and it was slow. It was very slow at the very beginning, which I think we anticipated, because it feels like very British humor, and so the capacity for it to travel felt slightly limited. So we expected that it would at least go to a few UK film festivals, and we weren't even really considering wider Europe that much, because I feel like wider Europe sometimes doesn't get British humor. But we still submitted to quite a few, and then US as well. And our first festival, which was our first Bafta qualifying festival, was Soulfest.
Oh yeah.
And that was just such a beautiful thing to me, because of how, just the idea of like, we see you. It was the community that you want to be seen by.
Exactly. And you won an award for it, and that just kind of like was the domino effect afterwards.
Exactly.
And so that's really momentous, because it's like, support your Black British people supporting you and championing you. They're the first ones to do that, and then everyone else saw the magic of what it was, you know?
Exactly.
Love that.
Exactly. Yeah, that was so very, very proud of that, and very honored. I'm grateful to Soulfest for that recognition. And yeah, we went from there to Encounters and a few other UK film festivals. So it's funny, because a lot of people see the festival journey and all the announcements, but actually the festivals that qualified us, there was like 2 or 3, I think. I think at the point where we had applied, because I'm thinking about the deadline, the point where we had applied, we only had Soulfest and maybe Encounters. So on our application, there were 2 qualifying festivals. We hadn't even traveled that much. But what was really beautiful was at the point where so the graduation show, NFTS grad show, a lot of the industry is invited to that show. So literally everyone from production companies to development executives and everything, everyone. And so that was actually where the traction came from, because it was just insane after that. A whole lot of conversations were spurred from just that grad show, and it felt like word of mouth was the powerful force behind the journey that our film had, because I was meeting people for the first time, and just, you know, in the whole, oh, what do you do, and all of that, and
Yeah.
I just made a film at film school, and there's my grad show called Jellyfish and Lobster, and they would be like, oh my gosh, I've heard about that. Even if they hadn't seen it, they'd heard about. And that was just so mind-blowing to me. And this was before we'd even got into any festivals. And so that really taught me the power of word of mouth, and why it's also important to really champion things that you find amazing and think are special. Like, so important to just big people up, because I think that's how we were able to grow and get the recognition that we have from the film. Yeah, so fast forward to the BAFTAs. It was just an odd experience. It was odd only because it was a grad film, and because of the ways that we'd kind of subconsciously prepared ourselves for that moment, because we were just making a grad film. And one thing that that always happens at film school is that because it's a grad film, people make it their life. And not to say that you shouldn't put your all into your grad film, but sometimes it can be a bit too intense, like the process of making the film. And so at the school, you kind of fall into that trap of this film is like going to be the one, it's going to be my calling card, it's going to be, you know. But we set out to make a great film, 100%. But I think the foundations of the film was truth. It was like inspired by real life experiences, not based on. But there was just so much humanity in the way that we were making our film, and I think that carries through. And that was the process of making our film. So we were just making a film, not trying to make an award-winning film.
Right, of course.
But one thing that I've told so many people this, but one thing that happened in the process of making a film that is so surreal to me is being at the school at like 1 a.m. in the production office, trying to get stuff done in pre-production, and just like things are going wrong, and you're like, it's my life.
Yeah.
And things are going wrong, and fix one thing and the next thing goes wrong, as they do.
Yeah.
On any production. I don't care what production it is. Things always go wrong.
Don't matter what budget you have, same
literally.
thing.
But in all of that, we would be in the production office just busting joke, just like really, really holding each other up, kind of in the tone of our film, like using humor to get through our stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, we just say shit like, don't worry, when we win the Bafta, it will all be worth it. And just throwing that out there. And so fast forward, and for it to actually happen, it just felt really, really surreal. And yeah, really, really, really proud of it. It's just amazing. Yeah, it was a whirlwind for sure.
And I love that you just achieved that, you know, to be in that room with like everybody up in the South Bank Center, you know, like all these A-list celebrities and just everything like that, you know? And like, what has happened past that though? You know, because I've seen you and your sister have launched your production company, you know, Carbon Pictures. And I mean, your sister won Tribeca a few years ago. So it's like you both were like, I love to see it, like both Black women in this industry killing it, you know? So like, what's kind of like been the next stage? Because I know you worked on a feature film as an associate producer, and that premiered at Cannes Film Festival. It's by Harris Dickinson, is that his name? Yeah. So like, what was it like working on that? What are you doing with your production company? You know, fill me in.
Yeah. So working with my sister, that kind of came about just before I went to film school, actually. It was something that we hadn't thought about before. We were on our own paths, you know. Rewind to the beginning when I said I jumped on her wave. I was the copycat little sister. So I think I kind of mentally held on to that, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna have to go on my own journey. and not encroach on her, not cramp her style kind of thing,
mm.
which was silly to think. But I thought that was my thought process when I was young.
I love black nepotism. So any black people
Right.
watching, don't do that. Okay.
Exactly.
Lean into it. Because white people been doing that for years. Okay. So yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it meant that we had our own individual journeys into the industry, and she has done incredible things. She worked at Channel 4, she worked at BFI Network, and eventually into TV. She's worked on Extraordinary, 2 seasons of Extraordinary, and also How to Have Sex as well. She worked on that as well. So she's done amazing things. But yeah, back then it didn't occur to us until at some point we would just constantly be talking to each other about our individual experiences, the projects we were working on, or the things that we were thinking about creatively. And it just dawned on us one day. We were like, wait, why aren't we working together?
Yeah.
We should be working together. And that was the beginning of Carbon Pictures, because we knew that we had a very just very, very specific goals as to the types of films that we wanted to make, what we wanted to see, what we loved watching when we were younger, and how we were inspired by that. And we wanted to create a production company that would embody that. So yeah, we teamed up, and we've been just in development mode. There's a lot of great things that we read on a daily basis, and we've spent a lot of time really trying to nurture relationships, because it's a process. It's very much like dating, where you have to spend time getting to know people and understanding their values and beyond just who they are creatively.
Yeah.
And so we're very, really particular about that. We're really intentional about that. And so yeah, we have a few projects that we're working on. Jellyfish and Lobster is one of them, with the support of BBC.
Amazing.
And then we have some other projects, a mixture of ideas that we've conceived of ourselves, work from other writers as well. So yeah, that's kind of how we came together, and what we're doing at the moment. So yeah, really thinking about, like, carbon in itself. The name comes from, scientifically, carbon is black, but beyond that, it's about the multiplicity of blackness. It's, when you look at what carbon is, it exists in everything around us. It can produce different things. You can get diamonds, you can get graphite, you can it just felt like a metaphor for blackness, the many vastness of our stories, and also the many ways that we can tell them. And so yeah, we're very much genre led or genre leaning, just anything that is, entertainment with substance. And yeah, things that interrogate identity in an interesting way is our focus.
I'm really excited to see what you guys do, because I remember years ago, like when we would talk, I remember you were speaking a lot about like Nollywood and all this stuff, and remember you and your sister were very passionate about, like, look, we need to like shape this and whip it into shape. And I think with like films like My Father's Shadow, Doing So Well I Can, and stuff like that, like I feel like I know the type of stuff. I have a feeling of what you guys are going to be working on and what you're bringing. So I'm excited just to see it, because we're really moving into that space of like having that diversity of Black characters across the diaspora. And, from producer to producer, I did want to ask you this, like, what is your thoughts on the current state of the industry, particularly in the UK? Because I feel like there's so much conversations, about the tax film incentive, which was supposed to be great, but then it's like Disney can benefit from that. That's not helping us. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, and like my biggest gripe is always like, I always talk about this. My biggest gripe is like the marketing of film and TV and how there's no budget in there. And it's like, people are like, well, where's the budget? They're not putting the budget into it. Okay. They're putting it into daytime TV and social media. I'm lost. So like, what's your thought of like the industry and the current like state of it, and where do you think it can go, and what do you think you hope to kind of do with your production company as well?
There's so much. There are so many thoughts about the industry. But I think one thing that was valuable about going to film school was that we had a particular research project, and I was assigned the UK, so it was a territory analysis. Through that project, I went back to the beginning of it all, right back to the very beginnings, 1800s, when the camera was just made, and yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And people knew what storytelling was, and I started to see that at the start of the 20th century, when an actual industry started to form, it felt like the UK was just a little behind, and not behind in, not necessarily in trying to build infrastructure, more so the government understanding what this meant as a business. And the US obviously had a head start because of course, market size, but they were able to quickly capitalize and create what we know as a vertically integrated company. Short of, well, they no longer go as far as owning the cinemas as such,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
that was where it began. And that meant that their rate of production meant that a lot was being sent to the UK. And what merchants were doing was like, bring it in.
Mm-hmm.
And that built up an appetite for the UK audience.
Yeah.
Or the British audience at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It meant, the way I see it, it was that it meant that the appetite meant that people very much preferred what was being imported.
Uh-huh.
And so it just felt like the UK, the British government at the time was more concerned with commerce as opposed to culture.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look over time, it's just repeated itself.
Facts.
Just repeat itself, because at that time, if you read about the history, you'll see that it took them a long time to even start to put in place things like levies, and my memory is terrible, so I can't remember specific things, but there were quotas that they put in place to say that cinemas have to screen a certain amount of UK films.
Yeah.
So you can see over time that they've repeated those little attempts at boosting the UK industry, but I think the UK was behind to begin with. As long as you prioritize inward investment, then that's gonna have an effect on how we are able to grow. Growth is difficult given that it's a tiny island in itself.
Well, this tiny island colonized like majority of the world, so
Right.
But
Right. There's been attempts to kind of build the studio system here as well. But again, I think the size is not necessarily as profitable. And so, yeah, I just think that's a long-winded way of saying history repeats itself.
Yeah, and it's great.
And it just has been repeating itself. And I think maybe it's really cynical, but I don't know how, because I'm also not an economist and I'm not a scholar like that, but I don't know how the UK might move beyond the reliance on like purely soft money. There's not really any private equity.
Yeah.
But it's cyclical. I think there is a sense of like private equity is virtually non-existent because there's not really any profit. But I also think that there's a bit of an issue with the UK landscape not making films that people actually want to go to cinema for. I think.
Well, you said the quiet part out loud, so hey.
And that's not me saying that I think UK films should be commercial. There's commercial or mainstream, sorry.
Yeah.
There's mainstream, there's commercial, and I think there are films that, I mean, look at how we went out to see Sinners. There are films that people know that they want to go to the cinema for.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a little bit of a trap of making films for filmmakers.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, it's obviously not all about money, because we all come into this wanting to tell stories. That's the number one thing. But we also want to eat. The point is that this is a profession that we've put ourselves to in order to enrich people's lives, but in order to survive as well. And I think that there can be a lot like broader thinking in terms of who we're telling our stories to and the perspectives that we're telling them from. And so in order to change, I think it's not waiting for a new system in the UK, because I don't think that's really going to change. But I think it's, just broadening your mind to the different ways that you are telling the story, that takes you beyond this little space we're in. So that could be European co-productions, that could be,
I was just about to say exactly.
Actually,
yeah.
You know, just being creative in not just the story that you're telling, but in the ways that you can get it made and reach audiences as well. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's
it
but
does.
it's just rumblings of things that I have been thinking about in terms of like, why doesn't UK film travel the way that it should?
And I've been saying they don't take risks. They don't take enough risks anymore. That's the problem. Because like I was thinking about this film Secret and Lies that came out in 96.
Right.
And that had Marianne Jean-Baptiste, and she got nominated for an Oscar for that, you know, like, and that was by Mike Lee. Hard Truths should have gone to the Oscars, but they didn't have the studio budget to push it like that. You know, you had The Crying Game in 92, which had Jay Davidson, first Black British man to be nominated for an Oscar. Like, so there's no risk. And yes, it's still that indie kind of film sector, which is great and we are known for. However, we need the commercialized film elements, like what you're saying. I've been saying this for a while, that I feel like the UK hasn't tapped enough in the TV movie market. And that's what they need to tap in more. So they're commissioning copy and paste, repeat crime murder shows where it's like, I'm like a middle-aged woman in the village and I'm not a detective. However, I'm good at solving murders with this private detective who comes and helps. And you got like, what's that cable network? It's called Alibi. They have like 6-7 shows of the same format. If you took that budget, and made a £1 million TV movie, that's already opening up a brand new market. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, that's how you commercialize it. You know, that leans into more things. I'm not saying like we want to have trash TV, but then it's like, it's a business. You need to be able to market to different audiences.
I feel like you kind of have to be, you can't be too risk averse, because I understand that in the sense that those formats work. They know that there are audience, that there is the audience for it. Is it Midsummer Murders? That's the longest one.
Columbo, Murder, She Wrote.
So there is an audience for that, but I do believe that risks can be taken to introduce audiences to something new. That's who we are as humans. We like what we like, but I would like to believe that we're mostly quite curious and open to figuring out what else we might like.
100%.
And I think there are a lot of people. I'm an example of like me and horror. Did I go out and see Sinners twice? Yeah, I did. Even though obviously that's not.
Yeah, it's not as like horror-esque as you can say, but I got horror. Yeah.
But I'm an example of an audience member that might see value in something new and a new perspective and a new approach to telling a certain story, and I will go and watch it. And so we have to take more risks, like you said.
Exactly. Well, before I let you go, I just want to ask you one generic, very obvious question. As now a BAFTA winning producer working on feature films and doing big things, what are your advice, or like what's the main skills you feel like people need to have to be a successful producer?
Kind of search for the non-obvious ones. I guess the obvious ones. Organization, of course, but beyond that, I think not looking at yourself as just an organizer. It's fine if you are, because again, there are different types of producers. So I would say learn what the different types of producers are, and learn what suits you, and try and understand your value creatively as well. Because when you come into this as a producer, one thing that I did early on is just that I was just jumping on everything so that I could call myself a producer.
Same thing. Yeah, I was same thing. Yeah.
Because like a lot of the other roles are a lot more tangible in terms of if you're an aspiring writer, you can produce a script. If you're an aspiring director, you can pick up your phone and call your friends and shoot something. But producing is a lot more elusive. What it actually looks like.
Yeah.
So I was just jumping on anything so that I can
Yeah.
make myself a producer.
Yeah.
So I would say learn what type of producer you are through your experiences with different people. And this sounds counterproductive to what I just said about jumping on everything, but also in finding community, you will learn who you are as a producer as well, because you're learning about different personalities, you're learning about people's different approaches to working, you're learning about how people's minds work creatively and how they can manifest the stories that they want to tell. So yeah, I get to know everyone that you can. Be everywhere, go to the festivals, reach out to film school students, film school, just to remind you, film school students have access to equipment and things. So,
Exactly.
not that it's always a free for all, because they're obviously going to prioritize the student projects, but if you're finding community in the right places, then you'll find opportunities to, become the person that you want to be. And yeah, as a producer, always find value in your creative identity, I would say, so that people aren't hitting you up the week before the BFI network application and asking you to write a budget. So that you can
I'm triggered.
so that people can let people know that you are a storyteller as well, even though your job looks like budgets and schedules and telling people where to be at what time. You're very much someone who is a lover of story, and your job is to tell the story in the best way that it can be. Make sure that you understand that value in yourself, and you convey that to people as best you can.
Thank you. Well, Elizabeth, it has been great speaking to you. Honestly, it's been great just hearing your journey, what you're doing now. And yeah, I'm excited to see what you do next. So where can people find you and Carbon Pictures to stay updated with what you've got going on?
Yeah, I guess the socials, barely use it, not gonna lie. I post twice a year, but I guess that's the best way. Instagram, Elizabeth_Rufai, Carbon Pictures, carbonpictures.co.uk. Yeah, that's I guess where everyone can find me.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank
and
you.
guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode. You know all of my socials. There's a bunch of them. Stay tuned for new episodes coming soon.